The crazy cat lady is at it again. Got my cat shirt on, got my cat earrings on, got a cat behind me, got a pet next to me. Anyway, welcome to another video. So today is my reflections on my 2020 goals and my plans for 2021, both on BookTube and also in general with reading. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the goals I set for myself this year and how I've gone with them, and then we'll talk about all the goals or plans for next year. So we've had to have a bit of a location change. A friend of ours just came around and she and Rowell are now working in the lounge room. So rather than me talking loudly and disturbing them, I'm coming to the bedroom to continue with this video. I still have a cat, just in case you were wondering. Before we do talk about all of that, I should just say that today is day 10 of the 12 Letters of Christmas Day challenge, put together by Beth over at Books Nest and Lauren over at Fiction Tea. Lauren's Instagram, Beth's BookTube will be in the description below. Go and check them out. So it's day 10 and that is D in Christmas Day. Over on Instagram, I have done the Deck the Halls video stories where I've shown you some little footage from local shopping centres with their decorations up. So if you want to look at that challenge, go check out Instagram. Again, that's in the description below. But anyway, let's talk about goals. Let's start with the list of books and authors that I said that I wanted to read in 2020 and see how I went there. So the first one is Rainbow Rowell. I did read 2 Rainbow Rowell books. I read Pumpkinheads, which is actually by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks, and I read Carry On. I should probably at this point say that since I made this list, I have now heard that Rainbow Rowell is a little bit problematic. Eleanor and Park was quite racist from this is what some Own Voices reviewers have said. I personally didn't see that, but I think that says more about me as a white woman than it does about anything else. But anyway, so I have read a few Rainbow Rowell now. I did quite like them, but I'm not desperately wanting to read more, so quite happy to say I have read Rainbow Rowell. So that gets a tick. The Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend, I am 2/3 of the way through, I should say. I read Nevermore and Wondersmith, and I'm planning on reading Hollowpox soon. So it won't all be finished in 2020, but I'm definitely on the way. The Cruel Prince series, or the Folk of the Air series. Yes, I did. I read all 3 of those books. Earlier in the year, I actually buddy read those with my friend Hayley from Hayley Reads. I'm not really certain that she's doing BookTube anymore, so I won't link her channel in the description. She hasn't uploaded for quite a while now. But anyway, Hayley and I read those books. We quite enjoyed them. That's a tick. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I did not read. I actually forgot that I had it on this list of books I wanted to read in 2020. It's not to say I don't want to read it, because I really do want to read it. It just apparently wasn't priority. So no. Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Yes, I did. I read that for Contemporary-thon in February. Really enjoyed it. One Last Stop is coming out relatively soon. I would like to read that next year, so that's a tick. The Diviners, I read book 1. Definitely intend to read the rest of the series, but it just hasn't been a priority. So 2021, who knows? Maybe I'll get to it. Ninth House, yes, loved it. One of my favourite books this year. By Leigh Bardugo. Absolutely fantastic. Nevernight. I did not read that series. I have since also heard some not great things about Jay Kristoff, that he's kind of a bit of, well, a dick, frankly. I mean, I'm not adverse to reading the books by any means, but that's kind of turned me off a little bit, so it's no longer really a priority. So, and I didn't read them in 2020. Alright, so those are the books that I had on the list that I wanted to read this year. That's not too bad, about half done, so that's alright. The next goal was that I really wanted to get much better at keeping track of new books coming out and reading more current books. And I've done pretty well in the catching up on books that were released in 2018, 2019. I've read a couple that were released in 2020, but keeping up to date with books that are coming out, I didn't do really very well. In that video, I did say that I would keep track of that via Book of the Month. We don't get Book of the Month in Australia, so I was going to kind of keep an eye on the website and order those through Book Depository or a local bookseller or something like that. I just didn't do that. It just wasn't a priority. It's not that I don't want to know what's coming out. I love watching your anticipated releases, and I get a lot of ideas from other booktubers, but it just wasn't a priority, and I didn't end up chasing it up, and I didn't really care that much, so didn't do well on that one. Then I had a thing where I talked about my TBRs, videos for each month, and how I had found that they were a bit too prescriptive and I wasn't really reading the entire TBR. So I was going to do 4 books a month, and then on TBR, set TBR, and then mood read. I sort of did that, but I also went in a lot of different readathons throughout the year, which meant that my reading was a little bit more prescribed, and did some challenges like Rowell chooses my TBR, my friend Michelle chose my TBR, my parents chose my TBR. So I kind of did that, but I've actually become less concerned about mood reading and more happy with TBRs, so I think that's going pretty well anyways. Kind of feel like that was achieved, but not particularly well. The next 2 goals that I had were to do with diversifying my reading. I kind of did okay with these goals. I feel like I diversified my reading in general this year, but not necessarily by following these 2 goals. So the first one was every month I was going to read a book by an Australian Aboriginal author. I think I diversified pretty well. I just didn't necessarily stick to the Australian Aboriginal. And then the next one was that I was going to read one book with a queer main character every month, and I didn't do that. Now, it's just not to say that I didn't read books with queer main characters or with queer characters. I did. It just wasn't one a month, so I failed there. Yeah, I mean, I did okay, but I definitely want to continue to diversify. Next up, we had readathons. So I wanted to go in more readathons in 2020 because I thought they looked like lots of fun, and I did. I went in quite a few readathons actually. I went in Contemporary-a-thon, I did Eurovision-a-thon, I did Both Because We Can readathons, I did Mental Health-a-thon, I did Bookopoly, I did Believe-a-thon, the Reading Rush, and of course I hosted the Hemisphere Christmas Games. So I did quite a few readathons, including hosting a readathon. So I did really well on that front. So I'm pretty happy with that. Reading more classics, and I actually had a list of 6 classics that I wanted to read in 2020 that I did not read. I did read a few classics in 2020 because my book club, it is the Book into Film Clubs, read a book and then watch an adaptation of the book into a movie. So this year was classics, so I read and watched And Then There Were None, Emma, Anne of Green Gables, Little Women, Frankenstein, can't remember what else, but yes, so I read quite a few classics. I just didn't read the classics I had on the list, but I still read more classics, so I think that still counts. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the audiobook and comic book journey. If you've been around for a while, you would have seen earlier this year that I was doing a audiobook novice starts an audiobook journey, and then I changed it to an comic. So I was listening to audiobooks and trying to read comic books. Neither of those formats are formats that I'm particularly au fait with. I hadn't really listened to audiobooks much before last year, and I really haven't read very many comics, graphic novels in my life. So I decided I wanted to diversify in that way a little bit and branch out and listen to some audiobooks and read some more comics. And I was doing a once a month, or tried to be doing a once a month update on the channel and talk about how that was going. And I did do that for a while, but it sort of petered out because I really just wasn't listening very much to audiobooks. I definitely see the benefit of audiobooks, and I definitely think that some audiobooks are really fantastic alternatives. I mean, I think audiobooks in general are a fantastic alternative to physical books, and it's a great way to experience reading. It's just not something I particularly turn to. It's not my preferred method of reading. Definitely see the benefits for a number of different reasons, including what I use them for, which is if I'm exercising or busy, I can still read. But yeah, I just found that I wasn't turning to it as much. Also, I've become a little bit too sedentary recently, which is a personal goal I would like to change in 2021. So it's meant that my audiobook listening has kind of taken a bit of a downturn. I basically just organically stopped doing the catch-ups, and I think I'm not going to continue doing that. I will talk about audiobooks as and when I listen to audiobooks. Same goes with graphic novels, comics. Occasionally I feel like reading one and I will then talk about them and talk about the experiences of the audiobook and the graphic novel versus physical or e-reader, but it's not going to be an ongoing monthly project as a separate video. So that was 2020. Now I want to move on to 2021 goals. So first and probably most important is I want to continue to diversify. So I want to continue reading books by people of colour, reading translated books, reading books by Australian Aboriginal authors, books written by queer authors, trans authors, written with queer characters, trans characters, and just generally diversify what I'm reading about. I also would like to diversify how I read. So like I said, comics, graphic novels, audiobooks. Try and branch out into books written in verse. I haven't had much luck with that with the couple that I've tried. Not really my jam, but I know that Elizabeth Acevedo has written 2 books written in verse which are pretty much universally loved here on BookTube, so I might give those books a try. The most recent one being Clap When You Land, which just sounds incredible, so I might have to pick that one up. So reading diversely is my top priority this year. I'm not going to go out and say I definitely have to have this type of author or this type of book every month, but I definitely have to try and diversify. As part of that, my TBR game that I'm definitely going to continue throughout 2021. Some of the cards which I was going to grab but didn't, so anyway, are specifically around diversification. There's a POC author, queer main character, Australian Aboriginal author, Indigenous author, so not just having to be Indigenous to Australia but to America or wherever it might be. Translated authors, I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but there's a few that I've created, so that will help me to diversify. Now of course that does not mean that if I have another prompt like friend recommendation or recent purchase or 5-star read or whatever it might be, that I can't use a book by a person of colour or with a queer main character or whatever it might be as that prompt as well. Obviously I can, so I can diversify whatever the prompts are, but those prompts are just to help me remember to keep diversifying. Probably my most important priority next year as far as reading is concerned, and that segues into a goal for the channel, which is the TBR game, which is now called Roll of Reads, which I've done a couple of times now. I will link both of those in the description below so you can go check out what I'm talking about. But it's basically a TBR game that I've used a bunch of different inspiration from a bunch of different booktubers that are amazing, and so far I've really enjoyed. I won't necessarily do it every single month. If I've got a bunch of readathons or read-alongs or I'm just not in the mood, I can always, of course, not do it, but I'm really enjoying it so far and you guys seem to enjoy it as well, so I would like to continue that. Last year I didn't actually talk about my Goodreads goal, but I did set one. Originally it was for 52 books, so I thought I could read a book a year, a book a week even. I well and truly surpassed that, so I reset the goal to 70 books and I quite handily surpassed that as well. So this year I'm going to set my Goodreads goal to 80 books. I'm not super worried if I don't meet it, but that's what I'm going to aim for. So the next one is a channel goal / a reading goal, and that is to continue doing more buddy reads. So I've been buddy reading with a few different people this year. I mostly buddy read with Connor from Connor's Library Corner. His channel is linked below, you should go and check him out, and we had a great time. I really enjoy buddy reading with Connor. I've been buddy reading with my friend Alison, who is not a booktuber, and we have a really great time. I really enjoy buddy reading with her. I have buddy read with my friends Max and Rachel. They're not booktubers either. Planning another buddy read in January. It'd be nice to have a few more buddy reads with them as well, but they're both very busy and it doesn't always kind of work out with our schedules, so we'll see how we go, but we're definitely going to be buddy reading in January. I've been buddy reading with Hayley from Hayley Reads, so I'd like to buddy read a bit more with her as well. And yeah, buddy reads are really, really fun. I really enjoyed them. This year in 2020 was the first year I had ever done a buddy read and I wasn't sure how I was going to go, but I really enjoyed them and I got a lot out of them, and yeah, so I want to continue to do buddy reads. So if you like buddy reads, if you have watched my wrap-ups and you think we have similar taste, or you're happy to branch out and try different things, and like I said, you like buddy reads, you've got space and time for that, please do comment below, get in touch with me on Twitter. That is in the description below as well, because I'd love to buddy read with different people, and yeah, let's get organised for that. And then I have 3 more goals / plans for 2021, which are specifically YouTube or BookTube channel goals. So first one is to make more vlogs. I have been making more vlogs recently and I've been enjoying doing that. People seem to enjoy watching them, so I'd like to continue making more vlogs. I'm not going to promise that I'll make one a week, because that's just, honestly, that's just not realistic for my scheduling and my mental health. But I do enjoy them, so probably a couple of months, which is what I've been doing, and it seems to be working out well, so I'll probably continue doing that. The next one is, again, probably more for my mental health, and that is to try to stop worrying about numbers. Obviously, subscriber count is great. Having lots of subscribers is great. Growing in subscribers is wonderful, but it's not the be on all and end all of the situation on life on YouTube. YouTube is geared around the idea of you growing in that way because they make money off of it, so it is pushed as something that you should be looking for. And it's not to say that I'm not looking for it, but I want to try stop worrying about it, because there's really not much I can do about it. So I mean, I can make great thumbnails, I can produce content, but once it's out into the world, there's only so much control I have over it. Because of that, it seems like it's a silly thing to think overly much about or worry about. So I want to try really hard to stop worrying too much about that. And the same goes with views and likes. I have heard quite a few people say, and I think they're probably right, the more authentic you are, the more you make content that you like and that you're proud of, the more people will be drawn to that and the more people will want to watch your content. I will still continue to make the content that I make that people seem to enjoy. There's no point in, as much as that's true, I'm sure, the other side of that is that it's a channel, the aim of the channel is to reach out to people. There's no point in making content that people just don't want to watch, but I want to try and be less concerned about that and more concerned about just being happy with it myself. Having said that though, I do want to make more content that you guys want. So I do enjoy the interactions that happens here and also over on Twitter around content. Please do comment below or go and talk to me on Twitter or comment on any of my videos really, and let me know what you would like to see me make. Is there a particular type of video you really like? Is there a particular thing that you'd like to see me do? Please comment and let me know, because I'm really keen to make videos. And then finally, I just have a few videos I want to make on a regular basis. You guys probably know because I put it in all my descriptions and I've mentioned it a few times, but I do have another channel which is Growing Together, and it is about parenting, child development, child learning, etc. I've basically stopped making content for that now. I was pretty much running out of content to make and it felt like I was just kind of churning it out rather than enjoying it. It's still there, obviously, so please go ahead and have a look if you want to. If you're a parent or an educator and you want some ideas and advice, I will link it in the description below and in the eye, so you can go and check that out. But since I stopped making the content over there, I did want to bring in a little bit of the content over here, because once a month over there I was doing kids book recommendations. I did start that earlier, but then things happened. I had to unlist the video, etc. So I want to start making once a month a book recommending. I'll probably talk about one. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'll do it yet. I might do one book and do a bit of a conversation about that book and why it's good for children's learning and whatnot, or I might just recommend a bunch of different books. I will see how I go. I haven't quite decided yet, but either way, I want to make a kids book recommendation per month. I've also decided that I want to try making mid-month wrap-ups and end-of-month wrap-ups, partly because, as you know, I tend to ramble, and this gives me just more space to do that, which, I don't know, maybe that won't be a good idea, but anyway. So I'm trying that out, so that will continue at least for the next few months. I really enjoy, there's a few people who make like end of the year favourites that they talk about different things other than just books, so TV shows or what have you. So there's a few different people that make videos like that, and then there's a few different people who make videos where they shout out other YouTubers. So I would really like to do a monthly favourites video and do that, to talk about the TV shows I've been watching, talk about the movies I've seen, and talk about some of the, maybe not booktubers, but booktube videos that I've watched over that month that I've really enjoyed. So that's something that I'd like to do once a month. I'll probably be at the end of each month, in addition to wrap-ups and so on. So that's monthly content that I'd like to do. Of course, it's very flexible. I may not end up doing it every month. I'll see how I go. I'm not going to 100% guarantee, but that's the plan that I'd like to do anyway. I think that's it, guys. That's my look over 2020 goals and my 2021 goals. Let me know what you think of all my goals. Let me know, like I said, if there are any videos you'd really like me to see in the future, any videos that you think sound really great, anything you'd like to see me make more of, less of, etc. Please comment below and let me know. What emoji will I get you to leave? Well, since it's all very kind of up in the air and we'll see how we go, leave me one of those emojis. If you want to leave an emoji, let me know you were here. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.